You know what's interesting? Right now, millions of people are planning how they'll reinvent themselves on January 1st. New habits, new goals, a new version of themselves. But there's a group of people who look at all of this and feel absolutely nothing. Not sad, not angry, just indifferent. And for the longest time, they've been misunderstood. People call them cynical, pessimistic, party poopers. But psychology reveals something completely different. So let's talk about what actually happens in the brain of someone who treats New Year like it's just Tuesday, because once you understand it, you'll realize it's not what you think. First thing, their brain doesn't respond to artificial markers. There's this concept in psychology called temporal landmarks. It's the reason most people feel this surge of motivation when a new year begins. Your brain basically tricks itself into believing, this is a fresh slate, I can be different now. And for a lot of people, that works. But here's the catch. Some brains are wired to reject that illusion. They don't see time as chapters in a book. They see it as one continuous flow. So when everyone else is hyped about flipping the calendar, these people are thinking, why do I need permission from a date to start something? If they want to change, they just start. No countdown, no confetti, no drama. Now you might be thinking, okay, but doesn't that make them cold, robotic? Not quite. And this is where it gets deeper. See, most people are externally motivated. They get energy from the environment, from crowds, from collective excitement. That's why New Year's Eve parties exist. The music, the lights, the anticipation, it all feeds a certain type of brain. But the people we're talking about, they're internally motivated. Their engine runs on a completely different fuel. They don't need the world to cheer them on. They don't need a ritual to feel alive. Their standards come from within. And honestly, that's a rare trait, because it means they're not dependent on external validation to feel like they're moving forward. But here's where things get misunderstood. A lot of people assume this indifference means they don't care about growth, that they're stuck, stagnant, unmotivated. Couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, these individuals often understand behavior change better than most. They've realized something crucial. One night of celebration doesn't rewire your brain. A resolution made at midnight doesn't override years of conditioning. Real change is slow, gradual, built through repetition. So instead of getting swept up in the emotional high of New Year's Eve, they stay grounded. They trust systems, not feelings. They trust consistency, not promises. And because of that, they don't experience the emotional roller coaster that a lot of people go through in January. You know, the excitement that fades by week 2, the guilt that sets in by February. They skip all of that. Now let's talk about emotion for a second, because this is where people really misread them. When someone doesn't get excited about New Year, it's easy to assume they're emotionally numb. But psychology says otherwise. What's actually happening is something called independent emotional regulation. These people don't attach emotion to events just because society tells them to. They feel things on their own terms. Celebration isn't automatic. It's optional. That's not coldness. It's maturity. It's the ability to pause and ask, do I feel something here, or am I just performing what's expected? Most people never ask that question. They celebrate because everyone else is celebrating. They feel hopeful because the vibe tells them to. But these individuals, they check in with themselves first. And if the feeling isn't genuine, they don't force it. Okay, so here's the last piece. And this one ties everything together. Now, people who don't care about New Year often have a long-term perspective on life. They're not living moment to moment. They're measuring progress across months, years, decades. For them, January 1st is just another data point. It's not the starting line. It's not the finish line. It's just a day. And because of that, they don't put pressure on it. They already know that every single day counts. So they don't need one symbolic night to remind them. Now, if you've made it this far and you're nodding your head, there's a good chance you think like this. And if you do, I want you to know something. You're not broken. You're not missing out. You're just wired differently. And that difference, it's actually a strength. Because while most people are chasing the high of a fresh start, you're already building, quietly, consistently, without needing the world to notice. So the next time someone asks why you're not excited about New Year's Eve, you don't owe them an explanation. But now you have one. Now, here's a related question. Why do some people feel more alone in a crowded room than when they're actually by themselves? I'll break that down next. See you in the next video.